Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about the career in finance. So I'll talk about what are the career options that you can explore in finance, whether it is investment banking, wealth management, private equity, quantitative finance, risk management, data science, software development, cyber security, and so on. So I'll talk about all of these career options in finance and how can make most out of it. As you probably know that finance offers one of the most lucrative career opportunities for young people. Okay, you can make lots of money in finance and banking, and there are a lot of opportunities in banking and finance for people who are hardworking, well educated, and ambitious. It's also quite a competitive sector, so it's not very easy to get into. But once you have the opportunity to work for any of these banking or financial service company, you have lots of opportunities to explore or lots of areas to explore. So I'll talk about in brief about each of these sectors, each of these areas within finance where you can really you can really work and you can make a lot of money out of it. Okay, the first one that comes to my mind is about a very popular career choices for those who are already thinking about a career in finance, which is investment banking, because that's what is very famous among the young people, right? Because often people think that you make lots of money by being an investment banker, and that is true, because investment bankers actually make a lot of money at a relatively young age than probably senior vice president in other companies. So even you can make money in millions at your 20s, when others of your age probably would be making less than 100K in other sectors. So that's one of the most lucrative career in finance, but it's really difficult to get into investment banking. You must be having extremely good academic score to be able to get into investment banking. And it's not always easy. First of all, investment banking jobs are not present everywhere. They're present only in the financial centers, such as in London, such as in New York, Chicago, Singapore, Hong Kong, Mumbai, and these places. Well, if you really want to get into investment banking, the first and the foremost thing that's important is to get into a highly reputed college or university. It doesn't matter what you study there, but what's more important is that the reputation of the university or the college should be really, really high. So that's the most important thing. So if you are in US, you should be aiming for the Ivy Leagues. Is Cornell or MIT, Stanford, Princeton, or the really good ones, which are not Ivy Leagues, but equally respected, such as University of Chicago and so on. If you're in UK, you have London School of Economics, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College of London, and so on. Similarly, if you're in other European countries, you should go to the best of the best institutes in any given country. If you're in India, you should be aiming for the IITs, the top IITs and the top IIMs. Um, so this is the most important criteria before you can even think of a career in investment banking, because there are only few jobs, and investment banking jobs only go to students from top schools. Okay, so that's one way of entering into investment banking jobs. The other way is to do an MBA or do CFA and so on, or maybe do a PhD. But doing higher studies such as MBA from top school, or a PhD from top university also is another route. But it's always good to enter investment banking when you're young, when you simply have a bachelor's degree from highly prestigious university, because you get more real world experience if you enter early. So that's about how we can even start, how you can get into investment banking. You can read more about it on Wikipedia. There are many investment bankers who actually are sharing good knowledge about it. Then about other areas of, or other niche areas of banking and finance, which could be investment banking, wealth management, and so on. They're equally lucrative, but somewhat less competitive than investment banking. Even if you do not have a degree from highly prestigious university, you still can do a CFA and get into these areas. So that's relatively easier than investment banking. Then I'll talk about quantitative finance, another lucrative career option for those who are interested more in mathematics and use of mathematics in finance. So this field wasn't there like 30-40 years ago. It was only in 70s and 80s people started using mathematical statistical theories in finance, or to maximize profit in investment. And that's when banks started hiring PhD in astronomy, in physics and maths and computer science and so on. And this field has grown since then. A number of quantitative professionals are working in banks, in all banks, regardless of whether it's a retail bank or whether it's a wholesale bank or investment banks and so on. So in order to get into this field, you must be really good in mathematics and programming. It's always preferred to have a master's degree, but even with a strong bachelor's degree, you can get into. But good to have a master's and a PhD preferably. But even without a PhD, you can always get into the quantitative finance. You should be really good with mathematics, as I've already said. Lots of calculus, stochastic calculus, statistical theory, inferential statistics, machine learning in these days are being used in quantitative finance. So that's what is a pre. And then programming, you should be comfortable with at least one programming language, preferably a language such as C++ or Java or Python. So these are some of the popular languages in the quantitative finance space. There is another field in banking which is similar to quantitative finance, but somewhat different, which is risk management. So risk management is less quantitative than quantitative finance, but it does have lots of quantitative finance also. Like you also build quantitative models in risk management. But it's also a bit easier to get into risk management than in quantitative finance. The qualifications are more or less the same. You should have a degree in maths or statistics or engineering and any quantitative areas, preferably a master's degree. PhD is always better, but preferably a master's degree, at least a master's degree. And then you can write the risk management certification exams such as FRM or PRM. CFA is quite okay. You can also do CQF, which is offered by Fitch. So these are some of the certifications that you can do. If you do not have any background risk management or economics or econometrics or statistics, then it's good to write this certification exam that actually adds a lot of value. It's also equally lucrative, especially after the financial crisis, because regulations has become stringent and banks are hiring more and more risk management people. So it's quite lucrative as well. Next, I'm going to talk about another lucrative career in finance, which is about accounting and auditing. Well, for the most chartered accountants, this has always been an area of work, and this is only growing with time. It has been there for a very long time. From decades, chartered accountants have been working in banks in different areas. All right, but with growing time, it was always thought that automation will replace some of these jobs, but it hasn't been able to do that. So it's also another lucrative area, but you need certification in accountancy to be able to get into this area, whether it's CA or equivalent qualification in US or in UK or in other countries as well. So that's another area. You can also get into data science or customer analytics or anything related to data analysis. Well, I've spoken about it, quantitative finance and risk management, which are similar to data science in some way because they are also use lots of mathematical statistical techniques in order to solve problems. But data science in particular in banking covers way more than simply using mathematical technique for investment or risk management. It could be customer relationship, it could be marketing, it could be fraud detection, anti-money laundering, I mean, you name it. All function, even operations within banks. There's lots of data, and data scientists are being hired by these banks and financial service companies to sort of use the data and build models and build software and solutions out of this data, the huge data that they have. It's a lucrative area because it's fairly new, and it's also growing quite fast because of especially the digitalization. We have lots of data in all areas, whether it's data coming from the app or websites or data coming from the offline modes and so on. So lots of data, lots of things can be. So there's a lot. It's much easier to get into than quantitative finance and risk management. If, regardless of your degree, you can learn Python, Hadoop, a bit of machine learning. You can get into data analysis in banking. Of course, there are different types of data analysis or data science jobs. Some are difficult to get into, some are relatively easier. But the message here is that it's an area where there are lots of opportunities, and if you are fascination for data and analyzing data, you should explore more on this. The few other areas which are equally lucrative, which is the cyber security or the information security. This is often not discussed, but in banking it's very important to have cyber security experts, and they're hugely paid, in fact, because there are only few people who know the tools and techniques to use in cyber security or information security, and they are in huge demand. You don't see too many job openings on these areas, but they are in huge demand, especially in US and Europe. Apart from that, IT is always a green career options in banking. If you're a developer and you have a bit of interest in finance, you can mix them, you can marry them, and you can go really high if you have good talent in IT. In all these areas that I have discussed so far, you can use your IT skills to get into those areas and help the people in business and risk management and so on. And thereby you can actually get the best of both worlds, that is the technical world or also the business world, the banking world, and be really valuable there. So there, and you can also make changes, or career changes later on. Like you can start working as a developer, software developer. Later on, you can move to quantitative finance or cyber security expert or risk management and so on. So these are some of the highly lucrative career options in finance and banking. There are some obvious ones like general banking, marketing, sales, and so on. I'm not going to discuss about them. I'm sure most of you know about them because when you go to a bank, you talk to the branch manager, you know that this guy is a sales guy, right? Or somebody who is going to write the loan or do the underwriting and so on. So we know about them, right? The financial advisors, the marketing people, and so on. But there are some of the areas which are more back office style. You do not actually meet a wealth manager or investment banker or a quantitative finance person when you visit your bank, right? So you see that they actually work in hindsight, and we know very less about them. But the highly lucrative career options, often people, especially the students in colleges and universities, do not know about this career option. Only a few people know about them, and that's why they are in an advantage over others who do not know. And so it's important that you know about these various options so that you can explore. One thing I like to mention before I end this video is that with the technology, the fintech companies are doing really well, are competing with the banks, and there are lots of opportunity in the fintech as well, and it's a very hot field currently in many parts of the world. where people are building systems for payments, for investments, for insurance, for all kinds of things, and that's been done through technology or use of technology. So if you're a technical person, you are a developer or software developer, there's tons of opportunities in banking and finance. And if you have bit more interest, you can read a bit more about banking and finance, payments and things like that, or do a certification. It will only add value to your technical skills, and you can make most out of it. And those who are working in traditional banking, they can also explore career options in this digital space.